All right, I think we are almost ready for our cooking demonstration. And as we get ready, I just wanted to mention a little bit about the wonderful chef that we have who's helping to demonstrate today. You might see her as a familiar face. We understand she is a 4-time winner of the Soy and Tofu Festival dessert competition. Tamako is a 4th-generation San Franciscan and also an avid home baker. She has a real passion for creating very healthy desserts. And her edamame parfait won the tofu dessert competition a couple years ago in the 11th annual Soy and Tofu Festival. So that was her 3rd time. And then outside the kitchen, she also has worked in senior talent acquisition roles in tech and agricultural industries. So I see a lot of right brain, left brain work going on with Tamako. Today, Tamako came to demonstrate her Zunda Dorayaki. And many of you might know dorayaki as a very traditional Japanese dessert. It's kind of like a pancake type topping. So they're like 2 pancakes and then they have a filling or typically red bean inside. But she's going to make it with okara, which is a soy element, filled with edamame paste and a miso butterscotch whipped cream. Now, doesn't that sound good? So we'd also like to remind you that in addition to this, we also have another demonstration that will be going on shortly with Henry Sue to show you actually how tofu is being made. So if you want to sign up for that, there are still tickets up at the front in the lobby. It's a $50 donation to be able to be a part of it, but we would love to have you join him. That will be starting shortly. And here on stage, please give a big round of applause to Tamako Park Lee. Thank you for being here. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the ingredients that you have and how you're going to pull them all together.
So today we're going to be making what I'm calling Zunda Dorayaki. So typically, as Jenna was mentioning, it's a pancake filled with bean paste. And usually you see it in stores with a red bean paste called Tamako. But since we're at the Soy and Tofu Festival, we're doing edamame paste today. So you're using green filling. And then also there's a couple more ingredients in here that kind of bring that soy in. So let's start first with the grill, because it's going to take a minute to heat up. So I'm just going to use a griddle, and you want to use a kind of medium to low temperature, so I'm keeping it at about 275 if you're using an electric griddle. And it's important, even if it's non-stick, it's still good to lightly oil, so I'm just going to get that started first. Just a little bit of oil, then just take a paper towel. It's not hot yet, so I'm not going to burn my hands. And just oil the grill. Okay, so while that heats up, let's go ahead and walk through the batter to the pancake mix. So for the dry ingredients, I pre-measured this is 1 cup of this regular all-purpose flour, and to bring in more nutrition and more soy, we're adding this powder called okara powder. So this is actually a byproduct of making tofu, so it's cutting down on food waste, and also it's high in fiber, low in calories, so it's a good substitution for regular flour. I usually don't put more than half substitution, because the texture is a little bit different, but today we're putting in a 1/4 cup. So this dry ingredient is going to be flour, okara, and just a teaspoon of baking soda. Dump that in our bowl here. And to that, we're going to add our wet ingredients. So here, the wet ingredients is 1/2 cup of sugar, and you can use cane sugar, white sugar. Sometimes I use cane sugar to get a little bit healthier. It's also 2 eggs and a tablespoon of honey, and then also you can use a choice of milk, any choice of milk. So again, so we have to go to the festival, we're going to be using soy milk. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that here. So already you can see we have a few different types of soy going on here. So here we just mix it. You want to have a smooth batter. I know sometimes when you make pancakes, they say to leave some streaks because you want to add volume, but these actually, you don't want to have too much volume. So go ahead and mix completely. Okay. So we want the pancakes to be uniform in size, so I'll show you how I do that next. Because again, we'll be making a sandwich out of it, so you want them to be the same size. Okay, so that looks about right. Now, let's see how the girl is doing. Okay, it seems ready. So in order to make everything the same size, I usually use a scooper. And you can make them different sizes. For the samples, I used a teaspoon, and for this, I'm using a cookie scoop. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them on the grill. And I recommend pouring kind of from high up, and it'll spread out and be more even than if you start lower down. It might be kind of an odd shape. So this is a little trick you can do. We're going to go ahead and make 6 pancakes here. And again, this grill is not very hot. It's at medium low at 275, so this is going to take a few minutes. So we're going to put that out and see. So while we wait, let's go ahead and talk about the filling. So the filling is pretty simple. It's just edamame, sugar, and salt. So very simple ingredients, not too unhealthy for dessert. So what I started with is 360 grams of shelled edamame. So you can buy edamame frozen and in the pod. Sometimes they sell them out of the pods, but even if they're out of the pods, I recommend when you take them out of the shells, there's a skin on them. So I take the skin off, and there's also a little sprout. So I take the sprout off, and at the end it just creates a smoother texture. So if you have the time, watching TV or something, just kind of doing something, this is a recommended step. So after you've had all of your edamame shelled, you cover it and put them in a pot, cover with water, boil for about 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, drain the water, put the edamame back in the pot, and then they'll be soft enough that you can blend them. So I use an immersion blender. You can use a regular blender or a food processor, whatever you have. And you can make the texture how you want. So just like with anko, there's 2 different kinds of anko. There's a smooth one and a rougher one. You can make the texture however you want. And you can also, strain it if you want it super smooth. But I like a little bit of chunky texture in it still, so I don't blend it all the way. Once it's blended, then you can go ahead, put it back in the pot, add your sugar, and again, because you're making it yourself, you can control the level of sweetness and sugar that you put in. So if you want it to be on a little bit healthier side, you can reduce the sugar. So for 360 grams of edamame, I use about 3/4 cups of sugar and just a pinch of salt. And then you just mix it until you get the consistency that you want. And the longer you keep it in the pot, the drier it will be. So everyone has their own preference. Okay, so let's check out our pancakes. So here, I think you can see we're waiting for the bubbles to form. So if you make pancakes at home, you always wait for the bubbles. This I wait a little bit longer than a regular breakfast pancake. You want it to be a nice dark brown, so I'm going to let this go a little bit more. So this is the finished product of the bean that we're going to be using, the Zunda. So I think this is about right. Let's go ahead and try one. Okay, see they're a nice dark brown. That's what we're looking for. And if you have kids, I know my daughter loves to do this with me, so you can always do it with your kids. Okay, that one is for the chef because it's a mess up, and there we go. Okay, so while the other side goes, it's going to be another couple of minutes. I thought I'd talk a little bit about how I came to be here. So for about 10 years, I worked at a company, an ag tech company, which was agriculture technology, and all employees were given an opportunity to take a class called Ag 101. And in it, one of the things we learned was there's so many different products out there that use soy. I had no idea. It's over 1,000 products incorporate soy in some form. So around the same time, I heard of the Tofu dessert contest, and it's like, wouldn't it be fun to try to figure out how I could incorporate different types of soy, because there's so many different types of soy, into a dessert. So combining, my hobby of baking plus, my career in agriculture, and then also my quest to make everything a little bit healthier and kind of sneak veggies and stuff into things. So, just some examples of different types of soy products that I've used in the desserts for the competition in the past. So there's tofu, soy sauce, crystallized soy sauce, yuba, okara, edamame, kinako, miso, soy milk, candied edamame. So that's already 10 different types of soy. So there's probably a lot more that I've never even heard of, so always learning. Okay, so these should be about done. So now we're going to move them to a rack just to cool, because you want them to be cool before you add your filling. So let's go ahead and do that. Going to get another batch going here. So re-whisk, things tend to settle. This batter is pretty loose. So we'll go ahead and make 6 more. And sometimes I think when you guys are making pancakes at home, you notice there's something called first pancake. It's a little bit different than our second batch, so let's see how this one turns out. All right. Okay, so now let's talk about the filling. So we talked about the Zunda filling. An optional filling that I thought would be fun just to add more soy into this dessert is a whipped cream that's sweetened with miso butterscotch. So this is the butterscotch that I made ahead of time. You can use caramel or butterscotch or anything similar. And you can use any recipe that you normally use, except for the salt, you add miso. So miso is that salty component, so don't add the salt, add the miso. Once it's cool, whip the whipped cream as you normally would, and then instead of sugar, put the butterscotch in there, and then just whip it up. So this is what the final product there is for that. So other things that you can put in dorayaki, I've even seen butter. I did not bring any butter today because it's not soy butter that I had. Okay, so those are the fillings that we're going to be using. The pancakes, they cool off pretty quickly. These are a little bit warm, but I think it's okay. So for the filling, you just want to take 2 pancakes that are roughly the same size, because again, you're going to be making a sandwich out of it. So I just take some of the bean paste, spread it on top. And then you just top it with the other pancake. And if you're not going to eat it right away, I recommend you wrap it in some plastic wrap. Then you'll get that kind of classic shape that you see. Because when you wrap it, you can seal it, so you can press them together like this. Just kind of go around the edges to seal it shut, and then it will stay. So there's one Zunda dorayaki. And if you want to put the whipped cream in, I recommend letting the pancakes cool down just a little more, otherwise it's going to melt the cream. The cream one, I usually like to make it right before people eat so that it doesn't really collapse. I tested it, it's fine the next day, but for optimal flavor, if you're I would wait to do it right before you serve. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Hopefully you guys learned something and we'll try this at home. It's pretty quick, a dessert that you can whip up in less than a half hour. It's fun to do with kids. So I've made some samples today. So if everyone would like to try, I've made two kinds. I've made some with the cream and without. So for those of you who are like me and lactose intolerant, try one with the heart sticker that is without the cream. And then there's ones with the cream if you want to try the full dessert. So I think we're going to have some volunteers help pass the samples out. So there's two kinds. This is the lactose-free one. Okay, well, I'm going to continue with, yes, question. The whipped cream is just heavy cream whipped up and then adding the butterscotch. Okay, any other questions? No questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the festival.
And you have brought a special treat for people with some of the pre-made dorayaki for people in the audience to taste. So tell us about these. Are these kind of smaller versions of what you're making here?
Yeah, they're exactly the same, just smaller versions. I used a teaspoon instead of a scooper, so exactly the same filling as what you see here.
All right, and I think we have our volunteers who are here to help distribute. If we can please get our volunteers to help with distributing, that would be great. And then, all right, and just wanted to ask you one thing. One of the things with this that I thought was so amazing is how easy it is. I mean, everybody makes pancakes, but to see this and then the different kinds of fillings. Before you arrived at this, what are some of the other combinations that you tried out?
I was asked to demonstrate a prior contest entry that I had made, but there's no kitchen and it's a short time, so I was trying to think how do I incorporate soy in multiple ways like I would with the competition, but in an easy to approach format. So, I think this is something that is not intimidating, everybody can do at home. I mean, everybody should have mainly the basic ingredients. Even this okara powder, which maybe is the one that people don't have, you can just pick it up in the Japanese market. So it's pretty available everywhere now. So this should be a pretty easy entry into Japanese baking if anyone wants to try it.
All right, everyone, a big round of applause for Tamako Park Lee. And thank you so much for bringing some samples of your delicious dorayaki to help and sweeten up the Soy and Tofu Festival this year. Thanks so much, and we appreciate too your entering the dessert competition, because that is something where it is truly amazing how many different creative ideas people come up with to use soy and tofu. So Tamako, thank you so much. Arigatou gozaimashita.